Today I'm reacting to your WrestlePalooza Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those are good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you're following me over on X because I ask for your hot takes there after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. The next one being Crown Jewel in a handful of weeks, so make sure that you don't miss out. Go follow me over there. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And don't forget that our full review of WrestlePalooza with footage is up and available over on patreon.com/SantiZap alongside all of the different videos and series that we can never post here because they would just get blocked due to copyright. So go check it out. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. And I'm still traveling. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm going to the Los Angeles Chargers games versus the Denver Broncos here in a couple of hours, which is why I'm in Jersey, which is why I'm not in my regular office, but I will be back on Tuesday. All right, that's enough. Let's see what you guys sent in. Spoiler alert, everybody hated WrestlePalooza. Triple H has to stop saying that there's going to be these surprises. When he says those things and he doesn't deliver, it ruins not only his credibility as a booker, but WWE's credibility as a whole. Empty promises in WWE buying into their own hype will hurt them and lose fan trust. Look, I'm not surprised that WWE is going out there and saying all of these promises, saying that the show is going to be amazing, that there's going to be all of these surprises, twists, and turns. That at the end of the day is marketing. It is PR speech, but when it's attached to WrestlePalooza specifically, a show that already had people raising an eyebrow as to why it exists in the first place, and a show that you're trying to tout that could be on par somewhere down the line as a WrestleMania, and you spend all this time talking about how WrestlePalooza might just be the most important show in the history of the WWE, and you compound that and you add all of these promises, yeah, there's going to be some expectations set by fans, and I don't think that that's crazy for fans to have these super high expectations when all of the context surrounding the show plus your promises are kind of leading to these expectations. And when you don't deliver on these super high expectations that you yourself set out for yourself, I think it's not crazy to say that fans are mad, that fans are going to get upset. And if you look at the general sentiment about WrestlePalooza, it's almost entirely negative. Like, you really are hard pressed to find any positive thoughts about WrestlePalooza when you scour the internet. And had this just been billed as a regular run-of-the-mill B-tier show like a Fastlane or something like that, I don't think that we'd be seeing as much negative feedback as we're seeing with WrestlePalooza. But it really is the entire package, how hyped this show was, how important it was to WWE, plus the promises of all of these surprises. It really was just a giant mess at the end of the day that they couldn't deliver on. Drew should have won the title or at least have something big at the end of the show, like Randy heel turn or someone returning. The entire booking of the match was also very weird. Not a good main event at all for the first PLE on ESPN. So here are my thoughts about Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre. As a match, I thought it was entirely fine. Like, I really don't think that it was a bad match. It was a pretty run-of-the-mill championship match that you would expect on something, again, like a B-tier show, like a Fastlane. Here's the thing. Out of many of the matches that were taking place at WrestlePalooza, namely Brock Lesnar and John Cena and the mixed tag match, this was like in third place in terms of level of importance, in terms of general overall build and excitement. So when you made the decision to make this the main event, I think that expectations all of a sudden shot up alongside what Triple H was saying about all of these surprises that we needed to expect. And they delivered on those expectations the previous month, right? When they decided to make the Fatal 4-Way the main event, when everybody thought it should have been John Cena and Logan Paul. And yeah, the Fatal 4-Way delivered a big shock surprise at the end. So when there wasn't a big shock surprise at the end of Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, albeit it was a fine match, it does feel like we were let down. Now, I'm not mad that Cody retained. I actually think it's the correct decision to let him have a more proper run here and lose it in a feud that actually is a feud, that actually has a storyline where he's actually there to build it, because him losing here to Drew McIntyre wouldn't have been as satisfying for Drew McIntyre fans as it would be if he won, you know, like a couple months down the line with an actual storyline. But yeah, I was absolutely expecting a Randy Orton at the end, something at the end to make this worthy of the main event, because at face value, it just simply wasn't. I don't think it's absurd to say that Io Sky is the best in the world right now. At the bare minimum, she's one of the first names in the conversation. Stephanie being able to hang with her shows that she's ready to be a world champion. Yeah, from an in-ring perspective, I think that Stephanie Vaked and Io Sky Sky are, in my opinion, the number one and number two women's professional wrestlers from an in-ring perspective in all of WWE, and certainly in the conversation for best women's professional wrestlers across the entire planet. So it's no surprise that when you put them together, we got a magical match. I thought that the match was truly wonderful, fantastic chemistry between the two, and I am glad that Stephanie Vaquer was given the victory here, because I think there's more that you can do with Stephanie right now as a champion than you can with Io Sky. Mostly because Io Sky's currently ongoing storylines don't really require a championship to be involved for them to be able to progress and move forward. Meanwhile, with Stephanie Vaquer, now you have a blank slate and you can add anybody into a championship feud with her. After B&B beat the greatest tag team ever, how's Judgment Day even going to show up to defend their titles? They shouldn't have to. Just hand the belts over and lose in a squash. I honestly would not mind if WWE booked Braun and Braun to take the World Tag Titles as early as this episode of Monday Night Raw. It would make sense to me because you're right. They just defeated one of the most iconic tag teams in the history of the WWE. They're being treated more like a tag team now. They're feuding with actual tag teams, as we saw on Friday Night SmackDown with Fraxium. To me, put them in the tag team division, and within their first day, just give them the titles. Don't overthink this. It's the correct call. I don't think anybody's going to fight for the Judgment Day to retain these because, well, they've done absolutely jack diddly fucking shit with those titles. This doesn't move me at all. It moves me, but I understand why it might not move you and other people, because this is for a crown jewel championship, and we already saw what those crown jewel feuds are like when we watched it last year, in that they aren't feuds. They're just big old exhibition matches with no real consequences on the other side. Now here, however, I do think that we might get some consequences on the other side, namely maybe being Cody Rhodes joining the baby faces as part of War Games to go up against the Vision. But this isn't the way that I would have ideally liked to see the rematch of one of the best feuds of the 2020s in Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. It's certainly not the Crown Jewel Championship, but here we are. I'm going to make the most of it. I think it's going to be hopefully a fun program. Hopefully they actually put in some storyline effort behind it, but also a really fun match, as we've seen from the previous amazing trilogy. Where did Pat McAfee go? All of a sudden, the energy was gone and he was gone. Maybe I missed it, but did he say anything? I don't think they said anything, but yeah, he did disappear and the energy was certainly sapped out in terms of commentary. I'm assuming he probably either had a red eye for something to do with the NFL this morning, or maybe he was covering one of the late night college football games, but it was nice to have Pat McAfee. It was a nice reminder that he is a nice change of pace from the traditional commentary that we have. We're paying $30 for a 5-match show. We should be getting at least 7 matches, and this show wasn't even good. The highlight was Stephanie versus Io and AJ's in-ring return. Besides that, this will be a very forgettable PLE. I agree. If you're paying more, I think it's a natural expectation to expect more. I don't think that that's a crazy consumer thought to have. However, we are talking about WWE and TKO, the same company that still believes that they have way more room to increase ticket prices. So maybe at the end of the day, they don't actually care about increasing value with increasing ticket prices and increasing access to their content. But I agree. I think that if you're paying $22 more compared to what you were paying if you're an American on Peacock, you should be getting more matches. I feel like if you're paying significantly more for seats in person in this arena, then you should be getting more matches as well. But I just don't see WWE having that same logic and mentality. I also think that it sucks severely for those in the United States watching on ESPN that you were getting ads. Like, how crazy is that? You're paying more money. There's way more ads on the physical like ring canvas than we've ever seen before, and they're still force feeding you 3 minutes worth of ads in between matches. Like, dude, the greed is crazy. WrestlePalooza was just Saturday night's main event. I think it's similar in the sense that everybody hates Saturday night's main events typically, and everybody hated WrestlePalooza. Like I said, nobody wrote in positively about WrestlePalooza. It is different in the sense that Saturday night's main event, sometimes like the results genuinely don't matter. I don't think that'll be the case here. I think the results do matter and will impact programming, but it still doesn't make it a good show. It was still a very bad show. Seth and Becky at the start of the match. Yep, this is good. I like this. This is a wonderful, fresh out of the oven meme. I'm going to steal this and give you no credit. We all felt the same, Santi. We all did. Listen, I'm in LA right now. I traveled in a 5-hour flight from Toronto to Los Angeles. I arrived in the airport an hour hour before WrestlePalooza. Between getting out of the airport, finding my way out of the airport, getting the taxi, getting to the hotel, and setting everything up, I had like 6 minutes to get live for WrestlePalooza. I had no time, no break, no food, no bathroom, nothing. So I was just excited to get on there, and it's like, sweet, now I get to enjoy Brock Lesnar and John Cena. So to go through all of that traveling, all of that stress to then get force-fed that metric butt ton of ass juice that was Brock Lesnar and John Cena makes me very upset. I really hope that John has a rematch with Brock at Crown Jewel, because otherwise this match made no sense at all and was completely pointless. One of John Cena's final ever matches being wasted on a 9-minute Brock Lesnar squash would really suck. I do think that we have to get Brock Lesnar again. There's no way that they leave this page unturned. At some point or another in John Cena's retirement tour, he needs to beat Brock Lesnar. I personally would rather go with what you're saying, Crown Jewel. Let's do this immediately next month. There is an easy path for us to get to that match without any build, considering John Cena doesn't have any actual dates between now and Crown Jewel on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. What I'm concerned, however, is that it's going to be Cena's retirement match, that his big send-off, his big goodbye is finally beating Brock Lesnar, and I don't want Lesnar to be John Cena's final match. I'd rather them just do it at Crown Jewel. Yeah, Stephanie Vaquer is about to be treated like the megastar that she is. When was the last time anyone pinned Io Sky clean? Brilliant match, beautiful finish, and the respect shown after the match was chef's kiss. Now keep her away from Rhea. I know that there's a lot of concern right now about what they're going to do with Stephanie Vaquer as a champion, because there's nothing for her immediately to do. At least Io Sky has other characters and other feuds that are surrounding her at the moment, where sure, you could have added the world championship to that to enhance those storylines and feuds. Meanwhile, Stephanie Vaquer technically has nothing. But if there's a time to have nothing as a world champion, it's right now, because right now she doesn't need a new feud, because it's just going to be the Crown Jewel championship match against Tiffany Stratton, presumably, or whoever wins the WWE championship next week. So they don't really need to build something new. They can just run with that. And then the next cycle is War Games, and you can just add her to the women's War Games match. You don't really need to focus on Stephanie Vaquer's championship reign and finding somebody new until like December or January, hopefully when Liv Morgan returns. You say keep her away from Rhea? I say give me Rhea, man. I think Rhea versus Stephanie Vaquer would be a fantastic match. AJ making Becky submit was the only right finish to this match, but it was a really fun match also. I agree. This was the necessary ending. If you wanted people to buy into AJ Lee going after the Intercontinental Championship, not only did Punk and AJ need to win, but it needed to be AJ to make Becky Lynch tap out. And I'm glad that they went with that finish. The match was a tremendous amount of fun, but they could have easily fumbled the next steps had Becky Lynch pinned AJ Lee. Because now with both AJ Lee and CM Punk standing tall, it allows us to open up the opportunity for CM Punk to once again chase after the World Heavyweight Championship and for AJ Lee to go after the Women's Intercontinental Championship, maybe as early as Crown Jewel. Wonderful match, fantastic finish, the correct finish. This was one of like the highlights of WrestlePalooza. Was Jay concussed? You can hear LA Knight telling Braun to spear Jay, which felt like an audible. Maybe, because did you see how much blood was there? And it was like blunt force trauma, not LA Knight's finisher, an actual piece of blunt force trauma from that chair that I think he accidentally hit himself with. Now, obviously, I don't know what the choreography of the match was. They maybe pivoted, maybe they did finish quickly. Hopefully, Jey Uso is fine. I don't want him to have a concussion, because that could be a situation where we don't have him for a handful of weeks. Maybe we don't have him for the next PLE cycle. And even if you don't like Jey Uso, I'm sure that that's not something that you want to see. Heyman et Lesnar, c'était légendaire. That's right. We're going Mr. Worldwide with this episode of Hot Takes. I'm pretty sure that says Heyman and Brock Lesnar, that was legendary. That was literally the only good part about the John Cena Brock Lesnar match. The entrances and the presentation at the start with John Cena coming out with the little minions of children was adorable, and Brock Lesnar getting Paul Heyman to do his announcement, and then Alicia Taylor doing the championship style announcement for the match was just utterly fantastic. I thought, oh my God, if they're already treating it like this, if this is a big money fight that they're treating it like, the match is going to be wonderful. Oh, sweet young summer child, I was an idiot for even believing that. Extremely hot take here, but I'm done complaining about one moment in the show that I don't like. There's always going to be something that's for me and something that's not for me. I'll watch what I like and skip what I don't. Now, if the whole show was bad, that's a different story. I think many of us should be more like Matthew. I think that's a very, very positive and optimistic way to look at WWE, because you're right. When you look at the Brock Lesnar John Cena match, match, yes, that was terrible. But then the follow-up tag team match was pretty solid. The women's match was fantastic. The mixed tag match was really, really good. And yeah, it ended with a bit of a dud. But here's the thing. Like, I get having low moments in the show, but when the low moment is a low moment involving one of WWE's biggest names who already has a limited amount of appearances with us, it doesn't feel like they just soiled the show. It feels like they soiled much more. It feels like they soiled the remaining time that's left with John Cena, unfortunately. So for me and for a lot of people, much of the anger that comes about from the Brock Lesnar John Cena finish is about not just what it did to WrestlePalooza as a night, but what it does for the rest of the next months coming forward as we go towards the end of John Cena's retirement. Best thing about the night was Stephanie McMahon. Not gonna lie, so happy for her. Obviously, I'm very happy for Stephanie McMahon and absolutely deserved induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. I won't lie, this felt random, this felt weird, and it felt out of place. I don't know why they're doing this in September when the Hall of Fame isn't until April, and they usually don't start announcing anyone until the start of the year. This really felt like, hey, we know we have a really bad show, so let's like put in something else that's like a feel-good moment so that the entire narrative about the show isn't completely bad. Obviously deserved, but I still feel like it was out of place in this show. Nonetheless, a really heartwarming moment between her and Undertaker. I'm sure you were like me and you were concerned that they were about to do an advertisement for their podcasts, considering how many advertisements we'd already gotten on this show. But yeah, congratulations to Stephanie McMahon. Absolutely deserved. Was watching Hangman versus Fletcher and Cena versus Brock at the same time. I focus on Hangman Fletcher because that match was cooking while Cena Brock was starting, and then when I look back, it was over. Was there even anything nice to say about Cena Brock? I don't think that there's anything nice to say about the match, but I do think you bring in an interesting point. The main event of All Out was going head to head with this match, and to me, that sucks. Like, as a wrestling fan that wants to consume as much wrestling as possible, I don't like counter programming. I do think it can create a little bit of a cool atmosphere as you bounce between the two shows, but at the end of the day, it is a better experience if you can just relax, chill, and watch one show one night and then the other one the other. I do wonder if it was by design, AEW going this long, wanting to bleed into WrestlePalooza. Maybe they're testing the waters of how much they can counter program WWE themselves. I haven't seen Hangman Fletcher yet. I absolutely will once I'm back in Canada, but I'm sure it was a match that was like by magnitudes of 100 better than John Cena Brock Lesnar. It certainly can't be worse. Becky Lynch was easily the MVP of this match. She was a great heel towards Punk and helped AJ look like $1,000,000 after her first match in 10 years. 1,000,000%. I think you can start making the argument strongly that Becky Lynch is the GOAT, and that's just not me saying that. That's everyone saying that. That's Sports Illustrated saying that. That's Bleacher Report saying that. But yeah, I agree. Becky Lynch is the MVP, not just of this match, but of this feud, because she was so wonderfully insufferable. She made you want to see CM Punk GTS her out of the atmosphere, and she made you want to root for AJ Lee's success as well. That goes to show like just what a wonderful character worker that she's become here since returning back to the WWE. I said it before and people clowned on me, but now people are starting to agree. Everybody's agreeing. Sports Illustrated is agreeing that this is the best version of Becky Lynch of all time. We will never see this again. Triple H is horrible and needs to go. Drew is the most disrespected wrestler in the company. He's given no respect at all. Okay, I think we're overstepping some boundaries here. I don't think that he's disrespected, but I do want to see Drew McIntyre eventually win the WWE Undisputed Championship from Cody Rhodes. I will say I didn't want it to be at WrestlePalooza as much as people wanted it to be the case. I just don't think that would have been the most exciting place for him to win off the back of a feud where they had one conversation with one another. But hey, he's still main eventing PLEs. I think the most important thing here with Drew McIntyre is for him to stay in the main event, for him to not disappear and have random feuds with Damian Priest or in the mid card. He has to stay in the main event, and if he stays there long enough, I think the championship is inevitable. I drove 3 hours, spent money, watched 4 suplexes, 3 AAs, and 8 F5s, all for the same result that I could have seen watching a YouTube video from 11 years ago. Yeah, this really was just the SummerSlam match done all over again, and I understand that much of John Cena's retirement tour has been playing the greatest hits, but this was just not the way that I wanted to see this greatest hits be played out. I think a lot of us wanted to see the big Super Cena comeback that he wasn't able to have back in 2014. This really does just feel like a rehash of what we've already seen before. And again, it's not bad to do a rehash, but when it's his sixth final appearance, you know, we're in a low John Cena appearance economy. We can't be wasting these appearances with just pure callbacks and rehashes of matches from 11 years ago. Death taxes and John Cena losing short matches in front of Make-A-Wish kids. Why do they keep having him lose in front of children? I don't understand. It was great. Well, seemingly from this photo that you sent in, you were not able to watch it, which was the case for, unfortunately, a lot of people. This was too confusing, right? Too many different ways to watch the show led to a very confusing group of people that just had no idea how to watch WrestlePalooza, to the point where they needed to have like 5 separate tutorial videos on Friday Night SmackDown, and clearly it still didn't work. They need to get their shit together. Clearly, this deal came together way too fast, way faster than it should have. They were not ready for this. Hopefully for Crown Jewel, all of the cable providers and everything is all set up so that if you just have ESPN, you get WrestlePalooza and you don't have to solve a fucking Rubik's Cube to figure it out. All right, we'll leave it there. This WrestlePalooza Saturday night's main event reveal. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I do like when the internet is angry at wrestling. It does create for some entertaining conversations. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye. Get out of here.